Hello. Welcome to ALPS InBrief, the podcast that comes to you from the historic Florence building in beautiful downtown Missoula, Montana. I'm Mark Bassingthwaite, the risk manager with ALPS, and today I'm going to do a little follow-up. For those of you that are regular listeners, I believe it was back in May, I recorded a podcast that I called Listening to Your Life. And we explored some bike riding and learning to listen to your life as opposed to learning to listen as a communication skill. I set some goals at that time and shared some stories, and I thought it would be fun to kind of share how it all played out. What the end is, if you will. So if you missed the first part, the beginning of the story, let me bring you up to speed. The short version is that, I have been interested in bikes and have ridden on and off over the years, particularly during the college years, and then, maybe the past 4 or 5 years getting back into it. And this year, in light of the lockdown with the pandemic, my wife challenged me to start riding a bit more, and it was sort of an informal bet. I'll bet you can't do 1,000-mile kind of a thing, and in terms of just riding outside through the summer. So I took that on and really got started doing some good riding, and she realized, hey, he's taking it more seriously than I thought. And it wasn't a competition kind of thing, since, I have to prove her wrong or anything like that. It was just, I enjoyed riding, and, why not? Instead of being locked up here at home all the time, let's go and get out and enjoy some sun and some fresh air. And so she opted to 1,200 by the end of the riding season. And I really had in my mind that I was going to try to go about 1,500 miles. So where did I end up? Well, I kind of officially called the end of the season the end of September, and I ended up at the 2,100 miles. So not bad again for a 60-year-old who wasn't in the best. I wasn't out of shape, but that's just saying my riding legs weren't there, and boy, it took some time to build up, but I did. And winter has started to hit here in Montana, and there's been a lot of times since that I've not been able to get out, but I'm still riding when the roads are safe and the weather's nice. So it's been good. And let me share some of the things that happened, and then we'll get back to talking about some learning with all of this. But I had my high month in terms of just number of miles in a given month. Turned out to be 503 miles in 1 month. My longest ride, in fact, that same month, my 3 longest rides ever, in terms of my life, not just this summer. I did a 54-mile, a 64-mile, and a 70-mile ride. Those were good days. So I had one experience where coming down a trail that I ride rather frequently, and you could see some cop cars and people gathering and all this, and it happened to be at a place where you cross a fairly major city street that cuts through a big park. And I'm going, what's going on here? Pull up, and it was a bike car accident, and the windshield totally smashed, and you just look and you say, this really isn't good. Somebody, it would have had to be an adult, just given the size, or perhaps a young adult, but given the size of the bike and the just how this, just to be high enough to go through a windshield like this. I mean, to go all the way through, but it was not pretty. We had, I don't know if it was due to fires, global warming, just sometimes, weather is weather. We had a lot more wind this year here in Montana, at least in our part of Montana. And so there's a lot of time where I spent riding in some wind. And I've had a couple of days where you go out on these longer rides, and I'll start out, and I'm looking on the weather apps and think, do I really want to go do this? And yeah, I do, but I can see some winds are coming. But you get out, and sometimes it starts and you have the wind at your back. You don't always notice, and boy, you're riding great. But once you get out, and I've been out at times pretty far, and man, do the winds pick up. And I mean, I remember one ride where I struggled keeping my bike upright in crosswinds. I mean, it almost really just wants to knock you over. And so these are winds that are fairly steady in that maybe 20 mile an hour range, gusting 25, maybe a little bit higher. And you have wind like that for the next 2 hours as you kind of work your way back home. And I'd be sitting there riding along going, man, this is nuts. This is crazy, And then I'd go out and do it again the next week. It's just like, okay, but it is what it is. I did at one point had a bit of a scare as riding somewhat quickly on a trail that I'm comfortable riding at certain speeds, and it's not too bad. But I kind of came around. You're kind of coming down a hill into a little tunnel that goes under a road, and coming into that probably a little faster than I should, to be honest with you. And there's another guy on a bike coming out, and he's going at a decent clip. And man, you just hit the brakes, you go into a slide, and I can just feel it, like I'm about to go down and just slam this bike into the corner of a wall, and it would not be good. But you manage, I don't know how, you stay with it, and manage to keep the bike up, and kind of did this slide into the tunnel and just kept going. I'm like, whew, that was a close one. I've had dogs chase me more than, probably 3 or 4 times, all told, for the summer. And, that gets kind of interesting. I did, as my wife was so supportive and encouraging and pleased, as we got into this, and she again saw that I was riding, decided, let's go shopping. And just due to the commitment, she said, I want you to have just better equipment. So added a second bike. I still have my original bike because it's just set up for different types of weather, and sometimes, a bike, flat or something, I can keep 2 on the road. But the new bike is really a much more comfortable ride, a much more serious ride, and it's just been great. So that was kind of an unexpected little surprise, and I'll share more about that here in a little bit. I got into using a riding app to really try to more seriously, more accurately, perhaps is a better word, keep track of my mileage. And after I started using the app for a bit, I realized I was seriously underestimating my mileage. So I guess that was a good thing. But there were times when you'd go out, you spend a lot of time riding, you stop and take a look at the app, how you doing? And yeah, I had it at times saying, I know I've ridden maybe, I don't know, maybe 20, 25 miles so far, and it'll say I've ridden to 62 and my top speed was 125 miles an hour, and I'm going, I could ride fast at times, and there's some nice hills where you can get some real nice speed, but I assure you it's not 125 miles an hour. And it took me, you get frustrated with this, and this is cheap, doesn't work. And then I finally realized, out here in the West, a lot of smoke from California, Oregon, even Washington, and some Montana, from all these fires. We just had a lot of heavy, heavy smoke. And I finally realized, these apps that track your location, they need to, if they're going to give you an accurate thing, they need to triangulate with several satellites at any given time to keep an accurate position of where you're going and do all these calculations. And with the smoke that heavy, you just can't triangulate accurately with enough satellites. And, that's the issue. It's like, I figured that out. Okay, and then you just feel better about it, I guess. So, what else do I want to share? I think that's most of sort of the summary. I can say, I talked earlier about, one of the reasons I was enjoying this and excited about it was some health benefits. And boy, now that I'm on this side of it, the season has more or less come to an end. We've been following my blood pressure. And I'll be honest and say, again, this is not uncommon in folks my age. My blood pressure's been ever so slowly creeping up a bit. Boy, it went down 20 points, and I am just nailing it consistently. So that's been kind of a good outcome to all of this. So that's sort of the summary, just giving you a little idea of the results of how this all played. And with that, I want to sort of revisit some things, some little learnings. Some are about just good to know kinds of things for riding. Others, maybe they're sort of whispers, as I ended my last podcast on Listening to Your Life with. Some of these things are whispers. Some are a bit more significant. So again, let's talk a little bit about what does this experience? What can I learn? What is worth really kind of taking to heart? And I think there are a number of things, big and small. I also, before I share the first one, prior to this, last winter, I have been, my wife and I are members of a, local gym club kind of thing, health club too. And I have really always been more interested in weightlifting, and I was in pretty decent shape. I was pretty strong, and I had I think I looked good. At least that's what my wife shared. God bless her. I love her. Isn't that the goal? But once the gym shut down and things, you kind of shift. And so I was doing a lot more bike riding and a lot less lifting. So the point of that is I got weaker, and I'm gyms are reopened now, and I have finally been able to get some weights here at the house too, so that it's, if we continue or some lockdowns come up again, I'm ready for it. And boy, trying to get weights and find weights on the market for a few months, if any of you ever looked at that, it was almost impossible because all the gyms closed, everybody bought everything up. But what have I learned? It's really difficult to get into shape in terms of the cardiovascular shape, to get the biking legs. It hurts. There are a lot of times where it hurts, and just to keep pushing. But once you get there, wow. And then, not lifting for a while and getting back into it, just realize, ooh, I'm going to have to go through some pain again. Now that's okay. But one of the takeaways here is, it's really hard work to get into shape. It's much easier to maintain once you are in shape. And, so, you can kind of look at that and say, that's a great insight and worth remembering for health and whatnot. But I think it goes further. I really do. You think about how hard it is to start a law practice, how hard it is to develop a good reputation as a lawyer, as an individual in a community, and it's so easy to lose and just let it go if we get complacent, if we just get comfortable and don't keep working at it. It's far easier to just stay in shape. So I guess I want to say, if you find something working in life, stay focused, stay with it. you don't want to have to build a business or a reputation 2 or 3 times. That's just wasted energy, if you ask me. So something to think about. I talked a little bit about these, this ride app and my frustration with it. And to me, it's so easy at times. We try to buy these things that are going to make life easier in some way, and we get frustrated if it doesn't work like we expect. And it's so easy to just dismiss it and want something else, to get upset. And there's wasted energy. I don't need to get frustrated and upset about anything that doesn't serve anyone. But I really just need to take a little time and understand what are the realistic limitations of this app. And once you start to think through it, you go, oh, of course. And so take time when we bring new technologies in, when we look at new processes or procedures in our practices or in our life, in any aspect of our life. That's really understand. There's value, I should say, in taking the time to understand realistically, what can this do and what are its limitations, so that you have an understanding and then can address any shortfalls in other ways, or perhaps look for better solutions if the initial evaluation is such that, this really doesn't meet all my needs. So I also shared, I had that great month. And I honestly would have to say, I initially would said, I don't think, one, just time, but two, that I have the physical wherewithal to ride, this 54, 64, and 70 mile ride, or those rides, and also in that same month hit over 500 miles. I'm still working full time, doing all the other things in life that I need to do. Or choose to do. But I did. And what I learned is, particularly after the 70-mile ride, I admit, hey, I was tired. I was beat. And you get to a point where, you're just moving. I wouldn't call it enjoyable in the sense of, oh, this is a beautiful bike ride and a wonderful afternoon. It's hard work. It is hard work. But you realize I am capable of more than I thought. And had I had time that day, and I ran out of time just for other obligations, I know, I am absolutely certain I could do 100 miles, probably even a bit more. And I guess the point of this is share. Looking at all aspects of my life, and I encourage you to think about your life as well. I think these learnings are good and valuable. We are capable of more than we think, but we have to take the risk to push it, to get uncomfortable a little bit, to just explore what are you truly capable of. And the answer might surprise you. I really have been surprised by this. It's given me hope in all kinds of crazy ways. Maybe it's this pandemic thing going on here or something too. But, I feel like my life is something that I am in control of. And I'm going to continue to work hard at staying in shape and maintaining wellness and health. I feel better. And I think I can continue to do this well into my 80s. In fact, I think it was 2 months ago or so, I heard a wonderful news story, because you don't hear often these feel-good stories in the news anymore. But a man in his 90s, I don't know, he may have just turned 90. I can't remember exactly what age. I know it was 90, but he was celebrating with a bunch of friends the fact that he has now ridden 100,000 miles on a bike. And I'm just sitting here going, that's totally awesome. And at the same time going, I just rode 2,100 out, and it's just like, that's a lot, But instead of sitting here and going, oh man, I'll never be able to do that, I celebrate here's a guy that did. And whether I ever get there or not, and I don't know how long it took him to ride these 100,000 miles, they don't share that in the story, but it doesn't matter. You know, he was capable of doing it, and he's still riding 9 miles a day. You know, maybe a stationary bike at the senior center, I have no idea, but God bless him. And I take such hope in that. Use bright lights, wear bright clothing. You know, it sort of goes back to the helmet story that I was talking about, or reasons we wear helmet, but very, very important. I want to make sure that I stand out in whatever space I am in. I don't want some car, if I'm in dark kind of clothing and no lights on my bike and I'm in some shade, coming into a tunnel, whatever it might be, you know, and not be very visible. Bad things happen. So I have really come to value trying to stand out. A lot of good things can happen just by virtue of trying to stand out and differentiate yourself from your surroundings. So I'm going to let you ride with that one. There's a pun perhaps, or run with that one. Always carry water. I often sometimes carry a protein drink with me. And on longer ride, hey, always stick a Snickers in the little pack that I have under my seat. Because you need, every once in a while, after a big climb, or you're 50 miles in, you need a little glucose to keep moving. And boy, you need to stay hydrated. You know, so you need to nourish yourself, whatever that means. It gets back to sort of this wellness thing. We need to stay nourished to be at our best, and at times to even just to continue in the journey. So, you know, food for the soul, nourish, whatever that means, you need to focus on that. You're not going to get there otherwise. That really can be the make or break. I shared two again that almost had a crash situation, but there's another takeaway from that one. You know, I talked about staying alert in the part one of this, and you know, I will tell you, after all these miles now, I certainly absolutely value staying alert, but you get so comfortable. It's harder to do over time. You get so comfortable in the ride. You get so comfortable in the speed. You get so comfortable in the, you know, sometimes you just take shortcuts. And I'm talking about safety shortcuts, you know. Danger. You know, we need to stay sharp as lawyers. We need to stay alert. And that's hard. So learning there in terms of tying this back to law and things, you know, there is value in taking relevant CLE. There is value in doing all that you can. We get back to wellness. There's so many ways to come at this, but we need to do what we can, all that we can, to keep sharp and stay alert throughout the entire journey after journey after journey. Because trouble can come up so fast in such unexpected ways when we least expect it, and when we're so comfortable, and then, holy smokes, I'm about to hit a wall. You know, it just, but the grace of God, that just, you know, I pulled through that one. Close call, but it was a reminder to me. It was a slap in the head. Hey, you know, don't get cocky. Stay alert. It's important. So, two other things I want to point out. Near the end of this, I had an interesting ride. Again, one of these windy sort of fall days. Winter is coming quickly. It's just in the air. And I always get a lot of wind, not a lot of people out. And I'm going on climbing up this hill to the airport. And for this was about a 50-mile ride. And I see somebody kind of carrying a bike as I'm pedaling up. And I get close and I realize, you know, it's a kid maybe, I don't know, 12, 13 years old. And he's got a nice bike, and he's obviously somebody that enjoys the riding seriously. And I kind of stopped and I said, "You have a flat?" And he goes, "Yeah, I do." And I said, "Well, I had some things with me." I said, "I'm happy to try to help you. I should be able to fix this, and or at least give it a shot." And he goes, "Well, no, thank you so much, but down." He had about, I don't know, half a mile to walk with his bike here yet, but he says, "My mom is on the way to pick me up, and I just need to be there." I mean, I can't fix this tire in 5 minutes or something, and he's appreciated, and he went on, and then he stopped and he turned and he goes, "Oh, by the way, don't ride off the trail. There's thorns." And I kind of smiled at him. I said, "Thanks for the tip. I appreciate that." And I do ride at times off the trails, sometimes even just passing families and whatnot that you just go off the grass and just so you don't disturb people and just it's fine. But here was some kid sharing a very important learning and insight that he had with some adult that just happened to stumble by, but we're kindred spirits in the sense we both enjoy riding. And that really was significant for me because at times you get really great advice that you haven't thought about from the most unexpected places. Learn to listen. So that to me was very, very important. The final thing I'd like to share is it's been maybe 2 or 3 weeks now, something like that. But one particular day, my wife was very concerned that a package was coming, and would I be here because she couldn't be just due to work to pick it up or to be here because she was concerned about it being left outside or something. And I said, sure, I watch what I was here. I telecommute, so I'm often around the house. And, okay. And then I'm getting these texts because I was actually doing a webinar, and it's here, go. And honey, I'll get it when I'm done. So I go down, and there's this huge, heavy package. It turns out she had purchased, in celebration and encouragement, a nice indoor bike that comes with these apps that you have coaches and you can really get fantastic workouts. I'm telling you, man, I've done a couple of rides on this, and wow, you can really, really keep it going. And I was, and she said it's a gift, a free gift, no strings attached kind of a thing. And, very thoughtful of her, very appreciative. We were both going to be using it. But that cemented, I think, the biggest learning of this entire experience. And it kind of plays out in 2 ways. I shared, again, at the beginning of the first episode that I have been so blessed to marry my absolute best friend. And we're married now 20 years, and she is more of a friend than ever. And she is a support system, obviously a very significant support system. And why I think that's important is I have learned to listen to her, and this experience underscores that in spades. Mark, I challenge you to do this. I mean, that's what was said, and we had some fun. But her support is, it's your health. I want you to be here for a long time. I want another 20, 30, 40 years. 40 years will take us to 100, and I'm okay with that. I hope we're still, sane, and, I probably won't be riding like this, but who knows? But, I learn to listen to your support systems. Sometimes the things they say are really, really worth taking to heart. You know, if working crazy hours and never taking a vacation as a solo practitioner or something, and your wife or your spouse says to you, or your significant other says to you, you know, I'm concerned about your health, you need to slow down, or we need to take a vacation. Listen. They know what they're talking about. They see and care about us. So, and you know, so your spouse, your significant other sees and cares about you. Listen. Listen. Every bit as important is nurturing the relationship. I want this support system that is proved over and over again to be so valuable in my life, and so it brought such meaning to my life. I want to nurture that so that it is always there. And I do everything I can to reciprocate, to be her support system. I want to always be there for her. And it gets back to about wellness, which is such an issue in our profession. But I really do believe that there's, I guess what I say, this whole experience this summer just underscored how vitally important listening to your support systems and nourishing your support systems are. And that is the one biggest takeaway for me. I sit back and I go, wow. Now here is a message that I simply cannot ignore. It's just phenomenal. So fundamentally important. So I'm rambling on here about all kinds of things, and honestly I could keep going. We could talk about wind and dogs and all sorts of stuff, but I don't think it's necessary. I just wanted to share how it all played out and share a few more insights. So I'm going to wrap it up and leave it at that. I hope you found something of value out of my journey that I've shared with you. And I just will close by encouraging you not only to listen and nurture your support systems, nourish yourself, all these other things we've been talking about, but I think one of the important things for me, why did I want to do this in terms of this two-part series? I really do believe if we learn to listen to what life has to say, both the strong messages and the whispers that come, we are all better for the experience. There's so much teaching that life brings every day. We just need to remember to take the time to listen and then to chew on it a little bit. So that's it. Thanks for listening. I hope you found something of value again. God bless. Take care. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.